CNN has obtained thousands of text messages that former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows had provided to the January 6th panel. And boy, are these text messages doozies, including some updates on Marjorie Taylor Greene, in which she was communicating to Mark Meadows on the day the rioters stormed the Capitol, causing mayhem and absolute chaos. And it's relevant considering the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene is currently being questioned in regard to whether or not she can seek re-election due to her part in the January 6th riots. Now, she had texted Mark Meadows as the riots were taking place, quote, "Mark, I was just told there is an active shooter on the first floor of the Capitol. Please tell the president to calm people. This isn't the way to solve anything." So the fact that she wants White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows to reach out to Trump makes it abundantly clear that she knows the rioters are there on behalf of Trump. They want to overturn the results of the election. And it's very different from what she said under oath in the video that you're about to watch.
When you were notified that people had entered the Capitol illegally, did you also understand at that point that there had been violence at the Capitol?
I only knew what I was told. I'd heard a gunshot. We all heard it. And we were so confused. We thought Antifa was breaking in or BLM because of those were the riots that had gone on and on all throughout 2020, day in and day out. Just horrible riots all over the country. And that was the only thing that made sense to most of us.
She lied. She lied. That's flat out lie because again, on January 6th, Cenk, she text messages Mark Meadows to tell him to communicate to Trump to make it stop.
Yeah, if you thought it was Antifa or BLM, how would Trump make them stop? Trump saying don't do it would presumably make them want to do it more. So it betrays the bias that she has, of course. She sees somebody breaking the law and she thinks it must be black people, it must be left wingers, even though she saw that it was a giant Trump crowd earlier in the day, right? She just can't believe her lying eyes that it would be her beloved white people and what right wingers that are causing the violence. But of course, another giant thing here is now all the right wingers are downplaying January 6th, no big deal. But on January 6th, Marjorie Taylor Greene's like, please tell the president, he's gotta calm it down. They're all literally scared to death.
There's an active shooter. She's terrified about the active shooter. I mean, and she should have been, as every other member of Congress was, as they're stuck in that building with all this chaos unfolding. And by the way, that text message to Mark Meadows did not end up getting a response.
It's Jeff. Everybody's having a great day where you are. Nothing new happening around here. Just a little bit of an overcast day here in Maine. It's not supposed to last the whole week though. We're supposed to get some nice sunny weather come Wednesday, I guess. So we had some rain, but we needed it. And boy, the grass just grows like friggin' crazy now. They just mowed the yard here like 2-3 days ago, and now the grass is already like that high. You know, and it's full of dandelions everywhere. Can't complain about the soil, huh? I mean, it's just fertile, and I'm sure they'll be back here again. I mean, the landlord's got to pay them for every time they come over here to mow the yard. I mean, it's not the landlord's lawnmowers. It's some other company they hired that goes around cutting lawns for different apartment complexes and stuff like that. Will you cut it out, kitty? Stop it. Why do you pick on me, kitty? Why? Why does this happen? Every time I try to do a video, you want to do something. Why, kitty? Why? Why? You're not answering me, kitty. Why? You're ignoring me. Ugh. Jeffrey told you that. So yeah, I mean, anyway, so yeah, the friggin' grass. I mean, it's crazy how fast it grows. But then, of course, the lawn gets a pretty good level of freaking fertilization with all the dogs crapping all over it. You know, jeez, can't help it. You know, grass is just thick. You know, so. Anyway, this little article here popped out today when I was reading the news, and it seems like lots of people on the left wing are talking about this. There is a woman here in Pennsylvania. Her name is Kathy Barnett. She's a U.S. Senate candidate in Pennsylvania, and she told a story here that it seems like a lot of people are finding a lot of holes in. Okay, and I have the article in front of me here. It's called lifenews.com. Okay, that kind of lays out, you know, more of what she said. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. I mean, this was written by Micaiah Bilger. Will you quit scratching? I told you to stop it. No. Don't you do that, kitty. You stop scratching everything. You're going to put claw marks all over the house. You're not listening, kitty. No, don't keep doing it. I just said no. No. Oh, kitty, come on. Stop it. I'm going to do the bad thing, kitties. Jeffrey's going to do it. Okay, Jeffrey's doing it. Oh, you better run, kitty. Oh, no, you better run. The snot is coming. She doesn't like the smell of lavender. Spray a little bit of it and she runs like crazy. So yeah, this was something here that was published. This article here was published earlier this year in February. Okay, and now it's coming down to crunch time for people to make a vote here. But I wanted to just bring this up because it seems like everybody's yakking about it. So initially what she said was she didn't realize that her mother and her were 12 years apart, only 12 years apart in age. And she didn't figure that out until she started to go to college. Okay, so all these years go by and she never did the math in her head and realized, oh, my mother's only 12 years older than I am. You know, and so she goes and talks to her mother about it, and her mother tells her that she was raped by a 21-year-old guy when she was 12 years old. All right, and so Kathy Barnett is a product of a rape. And she says, quote, "It wasn't a choice. I was a life," unquote, when her mother decided to have her even at 12 years old. Being that Kathy Barnett is my age, she was born in 71, that was before Roe versus Wade, and therefore her mother didn't have a choice. She had to have her, okay? So she leaves that little detail out of her story, you know, which should have been really a pro-abortion stance, but she's twisted this into a pro-life stance, which means she's for banning abortions. So she is like a conservative here. But she took her story and twisted the whole thing around, which should have been a story about what happens when your right to have an abortion doesn't exist. You're forced to have that child, even if you're a woman or a girl that's 12 years old and you're pregnant. Okay, you know, before Roe versus Wade, you would have to have that kid. But instead, she turned it around and said, well, my mother made the right choice. Well, her mother didn't have a choice in 1971, which is when she was born. She had to have her as a kid. And so she goes on and on about the value of life and all this stuff and that, which seems to be working because, you know, she's gaining a lot of ground in the polls in Pennsylvania. And then this other part of something that she said, that pedophilia is the cornerstone of Islam, was talked about, that she had said before, which got a lot of people irate. I can imagine. And you can, let me see where that, I had that part there. Yeah, so in this article here from Breitbart, it says Kathy Barnett denies saying pedophilia is a cornerstone of Islam, even though they got her on tape or whatever, they recorded her actually saying it. She denied it during an interview with MSNBC on Thursday. That was Thursday last week, despite the existence of such a post on her blue checkmark account. She said that on her Twitter account, okay? So they got her saying this on Twitter, and they have a picture of the Twitter tweet, okay? And it says, pedophilia is a cornerstone of Islam. And let me see, there's like 196 replies to that. Because I think one of her opponents is a Muslim or something like that. I think that, yeah, Dr. Oz. She's running against a guy named Dr. Oz, who would be the state's first Muslim senator if he wins. And he said that because she said that, it ought to disqualify her to run. Because it's defamatory to an entire religion, okay? Yeah, I mean, she's attacking the religion by saying that, and she knows she did wrong, so now she's trying to deny it, even though they got her tweet that indicates that she had said that, okay? It ain't the first time somebody, you know, wrote out a tweet, aka Donald Trump, wrote out a tweet and said something stupid, and then, you know, all of a sudden, you know, they're backpedaling from it. I mean, obviously she said that in order to attack Oz, okay? I mean, if it was to say something positive, right? She's not going to say anything positive about Islam if, you know, if her opponent is Muslim. So naturally she said it in order to insult the guy. All right. So I feel like, you know, this woman, how are we supposed to take, you know, she says something about being, you know, her mother being raped, and she's a product of a rape, and she doesn't give you, you know, all the insight or all the dimensions of that story truthfully, okay? She tailors it to fit her, you know, her need, her personal need for power, okay? That's what she did. And then she says this shit, slinging mud at a guy on his religious basis, okay? Why is that something that needs to be discussed in a political race? Okay? Well, it doesn't matter if she's right or not about that. The fact is, she brought it up. And religion shouldn't even be an issue here when people are running for a government position, all right? It shouldn't even be brought up. You know, what they believe in, we don't need to know where it's based in. We just need to know what they believe in. And if they don't believe in things that we like, okay, then we can vote for them or not vote for them. You know, depends on us. But for somebody else to point and say, oh, he's Islam, and Islam is a cornerstone of pedophilia. I mean, what is it with the right wing and their obsession with pedophilia? You know, they had more goddamn pedophiles in the GOP party in the last 15 years than I've ever seen in any group. Christ. You know, so what the hell is the friggin' problem here with this obsession, you know, of pedophilia? Okay, I really would like to know why all of a sudden now, in the last, 8 or 9 months, that's been the talk of the GOP as relating to, you know, whether we should support somebody or not, is whether they were involved in pedophilia or not. Okay, does that mean that they can find a good president? No, because they voted for Trump, and God knows there's a lot of shit that behind Trump that we don't know about, thanks to, you know, Jeff Epstein popping himself off, okay, or whatever. We won't really know just how deep that friggin' stain goes. So let's not kid ourselves. The moral right, as it was once called, is just that, ancient history. Okay, there is no moral right in this country anymore. Right? It doesn't exist. The only thing that they can profess that they are now is the party of money, party of business. You know, they defend the rich, the wealthy. That's what they are. And God knows there's no friggin' morality there when it comes to that. So please, you know, don't try and sell me down the river on that, because it ain't gonna sail. I just you know. But obviously this woman here is using, I mean, I have to wonder if this thing really happened with her mother and all that. If it did, she's using it in a very disingenuous and really in a dishonorable way. Okay, she's using her mother's incident as a stomping ground, or as a soapbox rather, to selling, you know, anti-abortion. I mean, that's not right. You think her mother really, you know, if she had to do it all over, would have gone through all that? You know, of course not. Her mother didn't want to be raped by a 21-year-old guy. Jesus. And yet she's sitting here, you know, yelling at fucking Islam as being, oh, the cornerstone of pedophilia, and yet her mother was raped. So what does that say? You know, that her mother was, you know, less than human because she had a child at 12 years old. I mean, isn't she kind of arguing both sides here of this thing? You know, how can you condemn it on one side and then praise your mother having been involved in it on the other, and twisting it around? So, you know, the truth here is it's like trying to hold on to one of them sponge thingies that when you squeeze it just flies out of your hand. It's like she's trying to do this thing here by holding on to something, and it just keeps slipping out of her hand. And the problem is she can't tell the truth about it. The way she really feels about it, she can't tell you the truth, and that's why she's got a hard time holding on to this issue here, this fact in her family, if it is a fact. She's got a hard time rationalizing it in her mind, okay? She wants to be this, and so in order to make this happen, she's going to use what happened in her family, some dark skeleton in her closet, as, oh, see what happened, and this is what, you know, she's airing out dirty laundry, and I don't think her mother would really like that. You know, I can't imagine why. But she's using that incident as a way to politicize abortion and put her on the side of the GOP, okay? When what happened to her mother was, you know, was a crime, okay? And the fact that she didn't have the choice in 1971 to have an abortion was also, you know, a crime against humanity. I mean, taking the right away from a human being to decide their own fate. Shit, I mean, you might as well say that nobody can just voluntarily sign for the military, right? They're all going to be compelled, drafted, if you will, to join the service after high school. You know, so you know they're going to take away that right while you're at it. You know, just. You know, no more volunteer service. It's going to be you have to serve no matter what. But yeah, when they were talking about this on the radio, I was like, what? I mean, she very slyly went right around what could have been a pro-abortion stance and twisted it. She twisted it just so that way it would sound like she's pro-life, okay, and that what her mother did was good, and you know, her being born, even though it was through a rape, was a good thing. I mean, isn't that exactly what the Republican Party has been saying? That even a birth conceived by rape is a good thing. Okay, it was meant to happen. Really? You mean, you know, a woman going out there and getting raped by her brother or her father or a stranger or whoever, and they get pregnant? Oh, it's a gift from God. Well, hey, gee, why don't we give the fucking rapists a goddamn trophy and a free meal at Red Lobster for they said while you're at it, okay? Jesus Christ. You know, talk about that, how twisted that perception is amongst the right wing out there, what they have to swallow, okay, in order to be a Republican and agree with that party. Don't they stop and think for one fucking second just how hollow, you know, their message sounds when they sell that as a great thing and oh, you should vote for me because, you know, this is a great thing, you know, to stop an abortion, save a life, you know, and at the same time on the other side of their mouth, they're talking about cutting welfare and cutting this and cutting that, so that way the child born into this world has absolutely no chance at all of ever making it in life. Okay, and that might have factored into the reason why her mother didn't want to have a child, because she knew the kid wouldn't have a goddamn chance in hell to make it. You know what I'm saying? You're taking away the woman's ability to captain her own ship, if you want to call it, okay? You know, it's putting that into question, like, we don't think you're mentally fit to decide the right way for your body. That's putting that person's intelligence, that person's instinct into question, okay? It's just like if somebody took away your driver's license. They're basically saying they have no confidence in your ability as a driver to go and drive around. They question your stability in whatever way they find, okay? And you can't captain your own car anymore. That's it. Game over. Are you just going to sit there and accept that, or are you going to fight to get it back? Of course you're going to fight to get it back. Well, that's what the women are doing now today. The whole country, a lot of the men in this country are sitting here saying, you can't have that right because we can't trust you with it, okay? You're not going to do the right thing. So we have to do that for you. Men have to do that for you. The Republican Party has to do that for you because we know better, okay? And America, you know, the 70% of Americans who disagree with the Republican Party on that point are the ones under attack by the minority and the 5 idiots on the Supreme Court who seem to agree that this ought to be overturned. The Roe versus Wade ought to be overturned. 5 people deciding the fate of over 100 million women in this country. How the hell is that considered democratic? These people weren't even elected onto the bench. They're just chosen, you know, to sit on that bench until the day they croak. Okay? That is anything but fucking democratic. That's not democratic at all. Okay? That's an example of the kind of shit we didn't like when we was living in England, isn't that? I mean, you know, we don't have any choice of who our electors are, because, you know, who our representatives are, because they're there for life. You know, well, the Supreme Court has to be run in the same way. You've got to have people have the choice to vote for who the hell they want sitting on the bench. But Republicans won't allow that. You know that. I mean, look, they can't even stand the fact that Trump lost an election, and they've been at it ever since to destroy our election system in this country to prevent that from ever happening again. Okay, they're going to do whatever they can to cheat on the other side of this thing. Okay, and we're supposed to just sit there and accept the result of the next election, even though they've already laid or baked into the cake ways to cheat themselves out of this thing. Okay, why are we still not, you know, going after them for that? You know, I mean, I really don't get it. I mean, why you know, the Democrats haven't come up with a countermeasure on that yet. Okay, I don't know, but it needs to happen. I feel like people's faith in the election system is going to erode down to zip if it hasn't already. I mean, I think the Republicans feel emboldened to continue doing these things because they're not seeing much opposition from the left, okay, when it comes to the voting rights thing. But again, like I was saying in the last video, that all depends on us going out there and making a stink so big about it that they have to say something about it, okay? When the country gets irritated and annoyed, you know, with what's going on, and we're out on the streets, you know, marching and hollering all the time, okay? Forget about taking the summer and going vacationing, okay? You're more needed right now marching on the streets for your right than you are to go sunbathing on the beach right now, okay? Seriously. You think a soldier on the battlefield can say, well, I'm going to go to Disneyland in the middle of a fucking war? No, they're needed right there to fight. And you don't get no vacation time until you're either shot, okay, or you're sent home because you're wounded or some other reason, okay. Right now we are at war with elements of our own government, and I can't see how anybody right now could be thinking about vacationing at some beach somewhere, or just fishing all summer long while shit's going down all over them. Okay, because to me, I think that people ought to be working together, okay, for a common goal, and that goal is to put a roadblock between Republicans and the government. I mean, here the Republicans have been crying, the government is too big, take it over too much. Yeah. But they want to shrink government down to the size where it's small enough to go into a woman's uterus, right? They want to tell people how they should vote, when they can vote, who can vote. You know what I'm saying? They're very good at using the power of the government to their own ends. But yet, on the other side, they say, oh, we don't like the big government. Talk to the people in Texas about big government, okay? That's a perfect place here to begin that debate. Okay, you got a Republican in Texas who thinks he is the government, and that what he says goes, and he's going to step on people's privacy for his own whim, and he doesn't give a shit what they think down there. DeSantis, another asshole that thinks government is in his pocket. He is the government. Okay, this guy is itching to be the next Hitler in this country. Okay. He already doesn't give a shit about authority. He doesn't care about how the system works, where one person doesn't have all the power. No, he wants all the power, and if they don't like it, fuck them. That's his idea. That's the way he does stuff. And that's essentially what he's been doing down in Florida, and he's constantly in the news being challenged by courts and stuff like that for the things that he does. Okay. So he's a troublemaker, and he's the last guy you want to see sitting in the White House. I mean, you think Trump was bad? You wait till that clown gets in there. Jesus, you wait till that guy gets in there. I mean, he's one of them clowns that's trying to outdo Trump. Believe it or not, if that's even possible. But I'm sure if there's anybody that can, Ron Death Sentence is the guy that'll do it. Okay, even though he's got blood on his hands from all the people that died in Florida under his watch. Okay. He doesn't care. Those people are just those he stepped on to get to where he is, and he ain't looking back. He ain't looking back. So, okay, let's go to a commercial break.
Dear CEO, what's it gonna take for you to do something? Yeah, do you even care?
Climate change affects all of us.
This is your chance to do something good.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the screamers, the criminals, the carnival barkers and their loyal clowns, the ones who don't like differences. They hate the rules, and they have no respect for you. You can't reason with them or disagree with them. They glorify villains and vilify heroes. About the only thing you shouldn't do is ignore them, because they have a plan to push America backwards. And while some may see them as crazy, we know they're dangerous. Because if we don't fight, the people who are crazy enough to think they can stop progress will.
build a super day? Then start with the one great taste that makes a super bowl of cereal. Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Just think of crispy golden flakes.
Delicious, crunchy flakes of corn.
So pure and simple, just can't wait.
Low in sugar, loaded with vitamins and iron.
So good for you, don't hesitate.
For a super bowl of our most nutritious corn flakes ever.
What a super bowl. Have yourself a super bowl. Kellogg's Corn Flakes. Super taste, super good. Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I love the show.
I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. For a little cat, she's only like 5 pounds. But she'll go through about 3 cans of cat food in a day. Well, anyway, this week, this other thing has been talking around. I don't know how many of you out there even are aware of what this is. I really wasn't that knowledgeable about this either, so I had to do a little bit of reading of it myself. But you have this replacement theory argument being thrown around by the GOP, especially on Fox News. Tucker Carlson can't spit it out of his mouth enough times in a day. That's all he's been talking about here for days now. So I wanted to read here this from the New York Times. Okay, this was who wrote this? This was published on the 15th. Okay, this is yesterday. So this is by Nicholas Confessore and Karen Yorish, entitled "A Fringe Conspiracy Theory Fostered Online is Refashioned by the GOP. Replacement theory espoused by the suspect in the Buffalo massacre has been embraced by some right-wing politicians and commentators, aka Tucker Carlson. Inside a Pittsburgh synagogue in 2018, a white man with a history of anti-Semitic internet posts gunned down 11 worshippers, then blaming Jews for allowing immigrant, quote-unquote, invaders into the United States. The next year, another white man, angry over what he called, quote, the Hispanic invasion of Texas, unquote, opened fire on shoppers at an El Paso Walmart, leaving 23 people dead, and later telling the police he had sought to kill Mexicans. And in yet another deadly mass shooting unfolding in Buffalo on Saturday, a heavily armed white man is accused of killing 10 people after targeting a supermarket on the city's predominantly black east side, writing in a lengthy screed posted online that the shoppers there came from a culture that sought to, quote, ethnically replace my own people, unquote. 3 shootings, 3 different targets, but all linked by one sprawling, ever-mutating belief, now commonly known as replacement theory. At the extremes of American life, replacement theory, the notion that Western elites, sometimes manipulated by Jews, want to quote-unquote replace and disempower white Americans, has become an engine of racist terror, helping inspire a wave of mass shootings in recent years and fueling the 2017 right-wing rally in Charlottesville, Virginia that erupted in violence. But replacement theory, once confined to the digital fever swamps of Reddit message boards, and semi-obscure white nationalist sites has gone mainstream. In sometimes more muted forms, the fear it crystallizes of a future America in which white people are no longer the numerical majority has become a potent force in conservative media and politics, where the theory has been borrowed and remixed to attract audiences, retweets, and small dollar donations. By his own account, the Buffalo suspect Peyton S. Gendron followed a lonelier path to radicalization, immersing himself in replacement theory and other kinds of racist and anti-Semitic content easily found in internet forums, and casting black Americans like Hispanic immigrants as quote-unquote replacers of white Americans. Yet in recent months, versions of the same ideas, sanded down and shorn of explicitly anti-black and anti-Semitic themes, have become commonplace in the Republican Party, spoken aloud at congressional hearings, echoed in Republican campaign advertisements, and embraced by a growing array of right-wing candidates and media personalities. And they got a picture of Tucker Carlson here. Boy, this guy here, if he ain't an ass kisser for a dictatorship, I don't know who is. No public figure has promoted replacement theory more loudly or relentlessly than the Fox host Tucker Carlson, who has made elite-led demographic change a central theme of his show since joining Fox's primetime lineup in 2016. A Times investigation published this month showed that in more than 400 episodes of his show, Mr. Carlson has amplified the notion that Democratic politicians and other assorted elites want to force demographic change through immigration, and his producers sometimes scoured his show's raw material from the same dark corners of the internet that the Buffalo suspect did. Quote, "It's not a pipeline, it's an open sewer," unquote, said Chris Stirewalt, a former Fox News political editor who was fired in 2020 after defending the network's decision to call Arizona for then candidate Joseph R. Biden, and who wrote a forthcoming book on how media outlets stoke anger to build audiences. Quote, "Cable hosts looking for ratings and politicians in search of small donor donations can see which stories and narratives are drawing the most intense reactions among addicted users online," unquote, Mr. Stirewalt said. Social media sites and internet forums, he added, are, quote, "like a focus group for pure outrage," unquote. In just the past year, Republican luminaries like Newt Gingrich, the former House Speaker, and Georgia Congressman, and Elise Stefanik, the center-right New York Congresswoman turned Trump acolyte and third-ranking House Republican, have echoed replacement theory. Appearing on Fox, Mr. Gingrich declared that leftists were attempting to, quote, "drown out," unquote, classic Americans. In September, Ms. Stefanik released a campaign ad on Facebook claiming that Democrats were plotting, quote, a permanent election insurrection, unquote, by granting, quote, unquote, amnesty to illegal immigrants, which her ad said would, quote, overthrow our current electorate and create a permanent liberal majority in Washington, unquote. That same month, after the Anti-Defamation League, a civil rights group, called on Fox to fire Mr. Carlson, Representative Matt Gaetz, Republican of Florida, stood up both for the TV host and for replacement theory itself. Quote, Tucker Carlson is correct about a replacement theory as he explains what is happening to America, unquote, Mr. Gaetz wrote on Twitter. In a statement after the Buffalo shooting, Mr. Gaetz said that he had, quote, never spoken of replacement theory in terms of race, unquote. 1 in 3 American adults now believe that an effort is underway, quote, to replace native-born Americans with immigrants for electoral gains, unquote. According to an Associated Press poll released this month, the poll also found that people who mostly watched right-wing media outlets like Fox News, One America News Network, and Newsmax were more likely to believe in replacement theory than those who watched CNN or MSNBC. Underlying all variations of replacement rhetoric is the growing diversity of the United States over the past decade, as the populations of people who identify as Hispanic and Asian surged, and the number of people who said they were more than one race more than doubled, according to the Census Bureau. Democratic politicians have generally been more supportive of immigration than Republicans, especially in the post-Trump era, and have pushed for more humane treatment of migrants and refugees. But the number of immigrants living in the United States illegally, which rose throughout the 90s and the 2000s, first began to decline under President Obama, a Democrat whom critics nicknamed, quote, deporter-in-chief, unquote. There is no evidence of widespread voting by non-citizens and others who are ineligible. And while Mr. Biden has laid out plans to expand legal immigration, federal agencies have expelled more than 1.3 million migrants at the southwest border on his watch, while continuing some of the more restrictive immigration policies that were begun by former President Trump. Throughout his presidency, Mr. Trump filled his public speeches and Twitter feed with often inflammatory, sometimes false rhetoric about immigrants, and he employed the term quote-unquote invaders in arguing for a border wall. Such language has been more broadly adopted by his most ardent supporters, such as Wendy Rogers, an Arizona state senator who last summer said on Twitter, quote, "We are being replaced and invaded by illegal immigrants." Efforts to reach Ms. Rogers on Sunday were unsuccessful. Reached by email, Mr. Gingrich declared replacement theory, quote-unquote, insane, adding that he was opposed to all anti-Semitism as well as, quote, the white racist violence in Buffalo, unquote. Responding to criticism of Ms. Stefanik's ad in the wake of the Buffalo shooting, a senior advisor for the Congresswoman sent two responses: a sorrowful statement from Ms. Stefanik about the killing in Buffalo, and a fiery rejoinder from the advisor that, quote, despite sickening and false reporting, unquote, the Congresswoman, quote, has never advocated for any racist position or made a racist statement, unquote. Experts who study digital extremism and media described a complex interplay between the darker version of replacement theory that features on white nationalists or natives' websites and the attenuated versions now echoing around the conventional right, including on cable news and in pro-Trump media outlets. Quote, someone like Carlson can introduce viewers to ideas that they then explore more fully online, searches that lead them to far-right spaces that either reinforce their existing views or radicalize them, unquote, said Nicole Hemmer, a historian at Columbia University. Quote, but someone like Carlson is also important because he legitimates those ideas, making them seem less radical when viewers see them, unquote. Measuring the extent of Mr. Carlson's influence in spreading replacement theory may be impossible, but controversies around the host's use of quote-unquote replacement rhetoric appear to have at least helped drive public curiosity about the idea. Until the Buffalo shootings, according to Google data, there had been 3 big spikes in Google searches for replacement theory, or quote, great replacement, unquote, a European variation popularized by the French writer Renaud Camus in recent years. The 2 followed the shootings in Christchurch, New Zealand, and El Paso, each covered by news outlets around the world. The 3rd came in April of 2021 when Mr. Carlson drew calls for Fox to fire him after defending the idea of Democratic quote-unquote replacement on the network. The Buffalo suspect appears to have immersed himself on web forums like 4chan and 8chan, where versions of replacement theory abound. That is also where the suspect, before setting out to slaughter black shoppers in Buffalo, posted a 180-page compendium of racist arguments and internet memes. He wrote that he got his news from Reddit. He began browsing 4chan in May 2020, quote, after extreme boredom. He wrote and quickly found a gateway to anti-black and anti-Semitic replacement content, reflecting the most extreme versions of replacement theory. The suspect deemed black people like immigrants as quote-unquote replacers, people who, quote, invade our lands, live on our soil, live on government support, and attack and replace our people, unquote. According to a detailed analysis by the Anti-Defamation League provided to the Times, the suspects screed plagiarized almost 2/3 of another manifesto, the one left by an Australian man who in 2019 murdered dozens of Muslims as they prayed in 2 mosques in Christchurch. In some instances, the Buffalo suspect replaced the Christchurch killer references to Angela Merkel, the former German chancellor, with George Soros, the billionaire philanthropist. One page of the Australian's document includes a purported count of Jews working at the senior levels of major media outlets, including Fox itself. Oren Segal, vice president of the ADL's Center on Extremism, said that the Buffalo suspects were repurposing of the Christchurch manifesto to justify an attack on black Americans, quote, demonstrates the evolving and interactive nature of extremist propaganda, unquote. Mr. Carlson's replacement rhetoric comes without the explicitly anti-Semitic elements common on racist web platforms. There is no indication that the Buffalo gunman watched Mr. Carlson's show or any other on Fox, and Mr. Carlson has denounced political violence even as he fans his viewers' fears. But there are also notable echoes between Mr. Carlson's segments and the Buffalo suspect's long litany of grievances, reflecting the blurry boundary between internet-fueled griping and lines of attack now common in conservative media and politics. Quote, why is diversity said to be our greatest strength? Does anyone even ask why? Is it spoken like a mantra and repeated ad infinitum? Unquote, the suspect wrote. The line nearly matches one of Mr. Carlson's go-to attacks on Fox. Quote, how precisely is diversity our strength? Unquote, Mr. Carlson asked in a 2018 segment, one of many in which he has hit on the question. Quote, since you've made this our new national motto, please be specific as you explain it. Unquote. A Fox spokeswoman declined to comment. Amy Spidalnik, the executive director of Integrity First for America, a group that waged a successful civil suit against organizers of the 2017 Charlottesville rally, argued that the broader promotion of replacement rhetoric normalized hate and emboldened violent extremists. Quote, this is the inevitable result of the normalization of white supremacist replacement theory in all its forms, unquote, Ms. Spidalnik said. Quote, Tucker Carlson may lead that charge, but he's backed by Republican elected officials and other leaders eager to amplify this deadly conspiracy, unquote. So, yeah, they're on Fox, they're talking about this shit over and over and over, like they said, for years. That's all, he's on there talking about this stuff. And people at home, like they said, go online when they hear replacement theory and they want to read more of what that is. And so they start swallowing this shit. Well, after a while, what do you think's going to happen? You're going to start to breed anger and hatred, and they're going to start seeing ghosts around every corner. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of like that. It makes you paranoid when you listen to guys like Tucker Carlson just go on and on, and people, a lot of these people don't even use the internet in the right way, okay? Instead of trying to look at this thing and try to figure out how legitimate is this argument, okay? Is there a movement out there that's trying to replace white people? Obviously not, okay? What's happening is that people, there's a lot of people in America that don't really have a problem with other races, okay? And what you got is a lot of mingling, from white and black people getting hooked up, and China and Asian people getting hooked up. I mean, we got this stuff going on, so it dilutes the white pigmentation skin in the country, and they can't stand that. Okay, they can't stand that. To them, when they see interracial marriages, that just curls the hair in their nose. They cannot stand that. Okay, and so they're worried about, white people are going to be, so who cares? Who fucking cares? What if our future is that there won't be any more black people or white people? They're all just going to be one skin tone color. Is that going to mean a damn thing to anybody? We're still the same, human race, still trying to evolve to be civilized, still doing this. That's not going to fucking matter. So then what are they going to base all their hatred on then, when they can't point it out because of skin color? Trust me, they'll find some other reason. There'll be religion. That'll be their big thing then. What religion are you? Okay? Are you Catholic? Are you Jewish? Are you this? Are you that? I mean, isn't this kind of this talk about replacement theory seem to follow along the same kind of line as Hitler's talk about a pure Germany? You know, remember how he was always yelling and screaming his head off about that in front of all those people? That he wanted everybody who lives in Germany to be German only. No mix of anything. Even though he wasn't even German native. He was born in Austria, okay? He wasn't even a German himself. Okay, so he sort of made a loophole so he could get away with that. But the point is that what's being said here with this replacement theory, which they renamed, okay, is the same thing that Hitler was talking about back then. What's old is now new. Okay, that's what the GOP is taking out of the dirt, polishing up, and presenting to its voters as something that's already been said many times before. Okay, and now we're going to start doing that here in this country. You know, I guess a lot of us never thought the day would come when we would start hearing echoes from the past. You know, people that we thought we put under because they were causing a lot of friggin' problems around the world. We thought we got rid of them, but even in death, you know, the momentum still goes on. You can't kill an idea. You can't. No matter how many times you want to put Hitler to death, you can't stop an idea. Like I said, one person says something and 100 people will believe it, at least. At least 100 people will believe it. And we still have believers. There's still elements of Nazism, even in our own country, that's a direct root into that period in history. Okay? You can't get rid of it. So, replacement theory, it sounds, you know, not too hateful or in any way. It sounds kind of scientific. Is really, you know, at its core, based in the shit that went on back in World War II in Germany, Nazi Germany. Okay, that's really where this comes from, and it's a selling point that's making money for the Republicans in their base. Okay, they're deliberately splitting the country apart, and because it's making them money, and they're not going to back off on Fox News talking about this shit. Tucker Carlson's not going to shelve this, you know, anytime soon. Hell no. It's got him where he's at now. Okay, he's got some political clout in his pocket, so that way he can go on and run his mouth off as long as he wants without any fallout from his bosses. So he's basically writing his own ticket right now, which is a dangerous thing, because that makes him a perfect candidate to start, you know, sending out propaganda to the people who run the party, the Republican Party. He'll be their choice propagandist. So, you know, how honest do you think that fucker's going to be then to the American people? You know, everybody's always bitching, oh, the media never tells you anything truthful. Well, if that's true, then why is there so many people watching Fox News? Okay? If they really believe that what they're being told on there is truthful, then why are they going around saying that, oh, news is all lies? Okay? People, be consistent. You know? If the media is telling lies, what purpose does it serve for the other side to be telling the truth and one side to tell lies? I mean, you're obviously only listening to one side, so how can you say with an absolute certainty that they're all doing this if you believe one side, not the other? Okay? What brings you to the point that it's all lies? I mean, these Fox News people are only watching Republican news, so that in itself is a definition of what they're about. It's all slanted views. It's not truthful in any stretch of the imagination. Okay? You could argue the same about MSNBC and all them. Okay? So I'm not defending them, but what I'm saying is that you can't possibly say, you know, that what you're watching is truthful, but everything else is false. I mean, why would that even happen? Okay? You know, and the thing of it is that if they claim to be conservative news, which is what they are, that's what they branded themselves as from the very beginning, okay, then that right there is already telling you They're not going to tell you the friggin' facts. They're going to tell you the version that they want you to hear. They're already telling you they're gonna lie, or they're gonna withhold a lot of facts so that way you believe what they want you to believe. So that's not a safe bet if you're looking for facts. Jesus, turn that TV off, people. Shut that stuff down. They're only on there because they're getting a paycheck talking like that. Okay, that's the way people make money today, is the biggest lie sells. Barnum and Bailey, remember that? P.T. Barnum? Okay? There's a sucker born every minute. Well, hell, it was as true then as it is today. Money is what drives a lot of things. Some of the stuff that drives it is not that good. It's not good for America, okay? And it's happening even now. And it's suckered a lot of people into it. They've given a lot of money to the GOP over the years, a lot of money, okay? So, hey, if a good thing like that, they're not going to stop. They ain't going to stop. So, but yeah, that's replacement theory, essentially, is what the New York Times had laid out here. It's just another way of saying we want pure Americans in here. And that's another thing. What is a pure American? Okay? You know, the only people that could actually say or claim that they're a pure American, of course, it wouldn't be an American. They would just be native to this land, right? Before we put a label on it, okay? Are the Native Americans that were here when we landed on this continent and started blowing everybody away so we could steal it from them, okay? That's the friggin' people that can claim that they're a native here. But none of us are native. There is no such thing as a pure American, okay? You could say you're a pure believer in the American ideals, okay? But that leads us right back to the political infighting that's going on in our country, where you got the right and the left, okay? Both sides thinking that their pure American ideals are what, you know, but, you know, they're constantly a battle with one another, all right? But that's kind of where we're at. But I don't care how many immigrants come into this country. They're welcome to come here. I don't care how they get here. All right? If they can get here and make a living here, then leave them the hell alone. Okay? Why stand in their friggin' way? Okay? I mean, you think Republicans would be happy to have more potential voters coming across the board? That's more minds they can twist and believe in their bullshit. Okay? But for some reason, they're already afraid that they're going to vote against them. Why? Because they know what they're doing is wrong. It's unpopular. That's why they know. That's why they friggin' know. And the people that will be impacted the harshest on the things that they believe in are the ones at the bottom of the economic ladder. And that, you know, includes the immigrants that come here to start at the bottom to work their way up. Okay? They're gonna see all the problems that were put in place by the Republicans to make you know, the butter they put on the friggin' rungs of the ladder to make them slip and fall. You know, they're gonna notice all that shit. That's why they're afraid, okay? Otherwise, they would believe, yeah, we can twist their minds because we're right. We know what we say is true. So we can make these new people come in and vote Republican. But they are scared shitless of more immigrants coming here, starting in this country, because they know that they're going to vote Democrat because their ideas do not sell popular. 70% of this country does not consider their ideas to be feasible, okay? So, you know, people need to think about that stuff. You know, that's probably the best truthful way you're going to ever get into answers outside of watching the damn TV news. Okay, that's all I'm going to talk about for today, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. I will be expecting to see some comments from people out there, and keep your ears and eyes open here for any local COVID-19 news. There's no sense spoiling a summer that everyone's been itching to have here for a while. So, you know, be safe out there. You know, you can still go to your favorite spots and all that, and feel safe. And if you have the time to get a vaccination or two, go and do that too. So that, you know, guarantees more that you'll be okay this summer. Unfortunately, right now we've already passed the million deaths mark in this country, which is a sad commentary on, you know, how we as a nation have dealt with this pandemic here. So that's probably why you've noticed the flags being flown at half staff. It was Biden's wish that we would do that for the remembering those that died from it. So anyway, I hope everybody has a great week and some good weather coming your way. And I will talk to you later when I have more to discuss. So take care.